Good evening and welcome to another Mr. Wilson Biology Live. This evening we are going to continue our exploit on the ecology. We are going to be looking at the food web. Now, just grab your friends, get on, and let's move. You know, it's an interactive session. And of course, we would love to have feedback as we go along, as it's never ever about me downloading all the information to you. It's always hearing a bit from you. So let us start by finding out how are you wherever you are. We're looking at ecology today, and we're definitely going to be looking at the food web. So Lexi one side. Hi sir, hi. All right. Andrews, hello, hi. Are these persons new to the chat? If you're new, just let me know. Are you new to our chat? Are you new to this chat? There is Alexis. I am new. Madonna, what's your nationality? Are you Jamaican? Andrews? Are you Jamaican? All right, Lexi's new. All right, cool. Andrews, are you Jamaican? All right, so it is Mr. Wilson Live. This evening we're going to be continuing. Oh, you're in. Oh, you're from St. Vincent. All right. That's St. Vincent, right? I want to make sure because I want to ensure that St. Vincent and the Grenadines. All right, welcome. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Wow, we are very grateful to have you this evening. Let me tell you about the show if you don't know, as we are waiting on other persons to join. The Guyanese, they are always here with us. For the first time, we're having someone from St. Vincent. Usually it's a 2-hour show. We're not sure we're going to be going for 2 hours today, but we're going to be with you. The show is usually, we have 3 shows for the week. We have a show on Friday that is geared towards grade 10, and we have this special show for a Wednesday where we look at ecology. There's also another show on a Sunday for grade 11 where we look at the last part of the syllabus. We also have videos online. We have past papers that are worked. We have animation. And of course, we have this Caribbean connection where, of course, we are able to talk to persons from different Caribbean islands through this forum. What we do here, it's biology and HSB, but of course, some amount of integrated science and general science will be covered on the platform. From time to time, sometimes the students determine what we do, but what we always do, it is always biology. So I want to look today at the food web because we did look at the food chain in our last lesson last Wednesday. So today we are going to be looking at the food web. I think what I might do is just to grab my whiteboard and start with the food web and of course explain that way. I think I want to have it be a practical thing for us this evening. So I'm going to start with the newcomers. Andrews, not to pick on you, but what is a food web? Can you say, have you ever looked at a food web? What it is to you? That's the type of thing we do here. What it is to you, a food web? Just type in the chat, wrong or right, it's fine. I know that you're new and you're not too sure what happens here, but never mind, we're going to take care of it. All right, so we have our friend, a new friend from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are really grateful to have her here. That's what this show is about. I think it's a collection of food chain. That's a very simplified way to put it, really simplified, wonderful. A food web is pretty much a diagrammatic representation of how organisms interact within a ecosystem. Simply put, it is a series of interconnection of food webs, many food webs. That's fine, Andrews. If you're not sure, that is why you're here. Persons who are sure, they are never ever with me. All right, so it's really an interconnection of food webs. Now, it starts at the base. Usually start here and it goes up and up and up and up, that type of thing, up to what we call quaternary consumer. So we have primary consumer, we have the producer first, primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer. And for some, we will have the quaternary consumer. Now, what I'm going to be doing, because it's sort of abstract for me just to be talking, I'm going to be firing up my whiteboard. Remember that I have a limitation that you're not able to see everything very clearly. So you have to tell me when we get going, if you can see or if you can't see, and then you're going to help me with the lesson. So we're going to be looking at the food web. We're going to be looking at decomposers, their role. We're going to look at the symbiotic relationships and so on. We're going to up on to see if we can even get as far to the carbon cycle and some of these ecological pyramids. And we're going to be talking about them nicely, of course. All right, so give me 1 second and let me get the whiteboard. All right, so I am back with the whiteboard. I was doing a bit of genetics with some kids. So you will observe that I have a little genetics written on the board, but we're going to erase that and get going with a food web. Now, I like to teach a food web with the concept of just using letters so you can have a good idea as to what is happening. So usually we have a food, all right? So tell me if you can see. Can you see that well? Just type yes in the chat for me if you can see. Are you seeing? Yes in the chat if you're seeing my board well. I just wrote food web on it. Are you able to see that? Type it in the chat for me. No. Cooper, no. Yes, please. All right. Cool. All right. So I'll try to get the computer a little closer to see if. Sorry about that. To see if it works. What about now? Is it better now? All right. Cool. So I'm going to start my food web from the bottom. All right, so the first set of organisms are going to be your primary producer or your producer. So I'm going to be starting with A, B, C, D, E, F. We could probably put G. We could probably put H, I, J, and we could stop at J. Now, for the purpose of this lesson, usually the interaction, you tell me what to do. So I want to start my connection. So you're paying attention. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All right. I have written it like this so that you can see the graduation as we go along in the lesson. We're going to be learning a little different stuff about all these. All right. So I want to start my connection. So in the chat, let me start by asking, I'm going to be calling names. So I'm going to be starting with Andrews. What do you want me to connect A to Andrews? All right, and after Andrews, I want Lawrence to tell me, Amoy, hey, Amoy, I want Amoy to tell me what I should connect B to. And then, so Andrews is saying that I should connect A to E. All right, so I won't call everybody's name. So if I didn't call your name, just write a letter that I should connect. So I'm connecting A to E. Is that properly done, Andrews? Yes, no? Tell me. Is it properly done? You have to pay attention because remember, it's an interactive session. So Lawrence, you're going to tell me what I'm going to connect B to. And then we are going to be having, I can't see everybody. Alexis, I want you to tell me, okay, connect B to C. B to C. I'm going to do it and let us see what will happen. B to C. This is interesting. This is going to be really interesting. All right. Anything else? Anybody else want to sell? Cooper is saying connecting C to E. C to E. All right. Good. All right. Any other connection? Come on. We want to connect everything. I want to cross it up and all mess it up and then we solve it. All right. Anything else we want to connect? Come on. Let's go. Let's go. And tell me if the connection is right. If you're going too slow, then you know that I'm going to take over with the connection. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. I probably go here. I probably go here. And of course, I'll probably go here. And then I'll probably go to that. And then I might go to that. All right, so we'll probably stop at J. All right, beautiful, 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 beautiful. All right, I hope you are seeing that. So Cooper said that I should have connected C to F. All right, connect C to F. All right, beautiful. All right, so we have that. Very good. So let us start with a couple of questions. We want to identify what is happening here. So first, we want to look at the number of trophic level. Remember that each organism pretty much represents a trophic level, but this time we are going to be going up something like that. So we want to say trophic level 1, or we could say trophic level 2, and we could say probably this one, trophic level 3, and then at the top here, quaternary, it's about trophic level 4. All right, we could represent it like that. Or we could say producers. Are you with me? And then we have primary consumer. Primary consumer. And then we're going to have secondary consumer. And then, of course, we are going to have tertiary. All right? Good. Now, if you are not in agreement, at all time you can stop me and all of that. That's fine. All right, so let us just go through here. Now, what we want to find is how many trophic level we really have in this food web. Can anybody tell me? Look at the board and see how many trophic level do we have in this food web. All right, we could go 1, 2, 3, 4. We could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're looking at the connection. So A to E, E to H, H to I, and then I to J. So that's the longest, I think. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you with me on that? Are you with me on that? Yes, it's fine, you know. Remember, you always respond. So I know that the connection is working up nice and all of that. Are you up with 4? Yes, sir. All right, beautiful. All right, good. All right, so we could say that we have 5 trophic level because what we did, we tried to identify by the food chain. The longest food chain is usually preferable. So we could go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? We could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So what we want to do now, we want to identify the organism. So now we don't know the name of the organism. But the same thing will be true when you get to the exam. There might be an organism in your food web that you don't know the organism, but you should be able to identify that feeding relationship based on where the organism is on the food web. So we want to identify these organisms, and what I'll be doing, I'll be circling the organism, and in the chat, I want you to type for me, is this organism a consumer, a producer, a secondary consumer, that type of thing. You know, we started trying to get into that predator-prey relationship, but you should be able to identify who's eating what. Now, another thing I want to do, a lot of students get this incorrect. Now, let me just put something here, X and Y. I hope you can see it. X and we're going to put a Y over there. All right? So we have X here, then we do another X. We have X there, and we have Y over here. Now, I'm going to be drawing an arrow between them both. Now, in this relationship here, X and Y, just type in the chat who is doing the eating. Who is eating who? Or what is eating what? Between X and Y, what's eating what? Type in the chat there for me. Can you see the board? So I want to know which of these organisms is doing the eating. Or might I say, which of these organisms is the predator, which is the prey? But don't answer predator, prey yet. Just answer who is doing the eating first. All right? I want to know who is eating. So Cooper is saying that Y is eating X. All right? And Andrews is saying that Y is eating X. And Mark, I think it's Mark, is saying that X is eating Y. All right, do we have any other response? Go right ahead. This is the place for you to be wrong, not on the CXC paper. If you are wrong here, all is well. Any other response? Do we have any other response? All right, not a problem. For those persons who can't see my face, never mind. It's sort of a makeshift system, but we know that teaching and learning must take place. So I'm sort of using the webcam from the laptop, so I might be out of the screen for a while, but I hope you can see the board. That is the big thing here now. So our answer is going to be the Y is doing the eating. Now, how do we know that it is the Y that is doing the eating? We always look for the tip of the arrow. So the tip of the arrow is here. I hope you can see. The tip of the arrow is right here. So the tip of the arrow indicates who is doing the eating. So right at the arrow tip here, that tells us who is doing the eating. Are you with me? We want to ensure that we understand that very well. Now, if the tip of the arrow is indicating who is doing the eating, then in this relationship between X and Y, our predator is going to be, sorry about that. Remember, I told you about the motorcycle. Jamaica is big for some bikes we call yenas. All right, so Y is the predator here, and the prey is going to be X. Now, remember that this is no standard thing. You always have to look at the relationship before you can determine who is predator and who is, of course, going to be the prey, or what is going to be the prey. So now that we have cleared up the whole idea as to what is the predator, what is the prey, and how do we identify what's doing the eating, it's time for us to move on. Now that we identify the persons or the organism that is doing the eating, we can probably assume what is happening where. I want to look at this relationship over here, as it forms a pretty interesting relationship, one that I have never seen. And if I were supposed to have written everything on the board, I would have never ever written something like this, because it would have been problematic. But now that you say that we have to solve it, then you know that Mr. Wilson will have to solve it. This is the relationship in question. Can you see that relationship? The marker is not bright enough? Not a bother. All right, so we're looking at this relationship here. You're able to see that? So based on what we are having here, we are at the base of the pyramid. Sorry, the base of the food web, right? If we're at the base of the food web, one of the things that we know is that the organisms that are here, they are usually producer. So it's either they are going to be something like a microscopic plant, like the phytoplankton, or they are going to be, depending on what food web it is, whether it is terrestrial or aquatic. I did not specify which it is. It doesn't really matter for this particular example. Now, usually the organisms that are at the base of your food web, they are going to be producers. So they are going to either be microscopic plant, like your phytoplankton, or they are going to be bacteria, or they are going to be plants. But what we observe here, based on what, I don't remember who told me to draw this here. All right, B to C. All right, Amoy, based on what Amoy Lawrence said here, she's saying that this plant is eating this plant. All right, this plant is somewhat obtaining nutrient from this plant. Now, the question is, I've never seen that, but it is something that is plausible. We could think about a parasitic relationship here between these two organisms. This could be a parasitic relationship. Now, I don't know how many persons would have known about a strangle vine. They call it strangle vine. They call it dada weed. They call it love bush. What other name they call it? It is this orange color thing that if you throw it on a plant, it just kills the plant and it grows this orange thing like a little whisk, a little thread. It's like a thicker than a thread, and it will cover the plant, and in no time it will just kill the plant. How many persons know it? Just tell me yes or no in the chat there. All right, it's a parasitic plant, and we want to ensure that we remember these plants. So this here, do you know the plant? Yes or no in the chat? Talk to me. I know it. Anybody else know that plant? It's an orange plant. I will ensure that I put one in one of my videos so that you can identify it. So Amoy knows the plant. Cooper, you don't know love bush, the one that you spit on and then you throw it onto another plant and you say, what you say? Love me, he loves me now, he loves me not, something like that. And they also call it dada weed and they call it love bush. I will send you a video of it because I'm sure I have it and it's all over the internet. I know it, all right? Andrews know it and she's out of St. Vincent. Otasia Gray from Guyana, she doesn't know the bush, but that is why you're here. Mr. Wilson will find it and upload it for you. All right, Lawrence, if it grows, the person loves you. That is some folk tale, I don't know. But let us go with these. Let us go with these. So from this relationship, this would have been a parasitic plant. The C there would have been a parasitic plant. Now, parasitic plants, there are some plants that we refer to that I don't want to say that they are eating other organisms, but they are absorbing nutrient from the other organism. And in some cases, that organism might die. Now, because you're online, you probably could type in dada weed and look at it very quickly. I can't show you that now, but probably you could. But I want to introduce you to two other interesting plants that we could have had here that would give you some trouble on your food web. Now, let me tell you, one would have been Pitcher's Trumpet. Look for Pitcher's Trumpet. It is this cone-shaped looking thing, a cone-shaped looking plant, something like that. Some cone-shaped looking plant like that called Pitcher's Trumpet. Now, the Pitcher's Trumpet, what happens is that the organism, like probably a bee or an insect, will go on the inside of it in search of nectar or food or something, and it will just slide down inside of it, and there's usually water or something like that inside of it, and it will trap that organism, kill the organism, and of course use the carnivorous plant. All right, somebody coming up with some fancy good word. I like that. It's called a carnivorous plant. Now, so the Pitcher's Trumpet is one of those plants. And then we have another plant that is called, pardon me? We have another plant, Pitcher's Trumpet, and then the other, are you talking to me? Pitcher's Trumpet. What is the other one? What's the other plant called? That one that closes? What is it called? Venus Flytrap. Wonderful! I love it. So we have the Venus Flytrap, which is a carnivorous plant. We have the Pitcher's Trumpet. All right, very good. I have bright students. I'm loving it. So we have Pitcher's Trumpet, which is one of those carnivorous plants. We have Venus Flytrap, which is another carnivorous plant. And if you were supposed to see it on this relationship, it is a plant, but then we'll probably have an arrow going to the plant, meaning that it is consuming the insect, right? And that would tell you that this is a carnivorous plant. You must remember these plants, all right? So this one over here is a parasitic plant. It is like the dada weed, strangle weed, love bush. We have it in Jamaica. You have it everywhere. It is orange in color. It's like a little whisk. It doesn't have any true root. I don't think it doesn't have any true leaf, right? So all that bit is there. I'm going to be sending you a video of it because I've been out videoing plants all over the place to show you all different types of plants. All right. So we have an appreciation for this. So let me erase it. So we spoke just now about plants that eat animals that are get nutrient from animals. And we said there, I'm going to be asking Amoy Lawrence just to help me in the chat to type some of the things that we're saying. We spoke about carnivorous plant and we gave you two examples. One, Pitcher's Trumpet and the Venus flytrap. Then we spoke about parasitic plant, where we said that this relationship here would have been a relationship with a parasitic plant, because this is a plant and you are saying that this plant is eating another plant. And what it pretty much said for me is that it is obtaining nutrient from this plant, so it makes a parasitic relationship. Beautiful. Let us continue. So we identify that these here are all producers. So here we are going to have our primary consumer. Now, our primary consumer, we usually refer to them as herbivores. Do you know any herbivore? Type it in the chat there. Remember what we said about herbivores? We said that herbivores are organisms that eat plant only. So I want you to type in the chat there for me, a goat, a very good one. All right? You're telling me about terrestrial organism now. So tell me some terrestrial, I want to hear some terrestrial herbivore, and I want to hear some aquatic herbivore as well. All right? Cow. No, because I'm an agriculture teacher, you see, I don't use that word very loosely, cow. You see, when you're writing for Mr. Wilson, write cattle, because a cow is a mature female cattle that has given birth, right? And I don't want persons to say bull cow in my class. You say a cattle, and if you really want to talk about a cow, then you talk a cow. Or you want to talk about a bull, you talk about a bull. A grasshopper is a herbivore as well. Wonderful. I'm seeing some new names here that I like. So grasshopper is a herbivore. The cow or cattle is a herbivore. Goat herbivore. I want something else. Talk to me. Zooplankton. Zooplankton. These are microscopic aquatic organisms. All right? And they fall in marine food chain. That is beautiful. That is so true. All right. So tell me something about another herbivore. What is the manatee? What is the manatee? The Jamaica sea cow, the Caribbean sea. I think it's probably in the Caribbean waters. The manatee. Anybody know about the manatee? Tell me about it. All right. So remember, we are going up the food web here, and we usually go very slow because we want to accommodate everyone. So we started out down here with the producers. And remember, we said that producers are organisms which are able to use simple inorganic substances, that is carbon dioxide and water, to make organic substances. So that's where we started out. We're tying up everything that we learned. Remember, we learned about diffusion, we learned about photosynthesis. So we're tying up everything in the food web. As we go along, we're bringing up everything that we've learned. So let me say, live in the sea. The manatee lives in the sea. It looks like a seal. And it's an herbivore. Did you know that? Have you seen that in your reading? So remember, when we're talking about the ecosystem, are we talking about food web? We must be able to talk about terrestrial food web and aquatic food web. So you want to be sure you familiarize yourself with different organisms from different habitat. That's another fancy word that we went through last week. So here, producer, primary consumer. So these are herbivore. They eat plants only. And then we are going to get on up here. H. What is H? Is it a carnivore? Omnivore? What it is? Tell me what is H. What is H? And let us look at G. What is G? Type it in your chat there for me. When I ask a question, it's a carnivore. Anybody else? Carnivore, beautiful. Anybody else? Carnivore, wonderful. Anybody else? Oh, turtle is another herbivore. Okay, Atisha. All right. Aman Andrews, omnivore. All right, that's a special word. We want to write down that word. We're not going to be taking that right now, but we're going to be looking at it because we looked at it when we looked at food chain. A very good word. I need to look at that word. All right, so we're going to be addressing this word by itself. Give me a minute. So let us continue. Somebody said omnivore. Atisha Gray, why did you delete what you wrote? Tell me what went wrong. Tell me what went wrong. Tell me what went wrong. I have a support team. I'll just ask them to do the checks for me if you're not certain. All right. So omnivore, we stop at omnivore. So then I must give the answer no. So let us go again. Producer, primary producer, some might say. Consumer, primary consumer. Our primary consumers are the herbivores. And then as we go up, then we have secondary consumer. They are our carnivore. And the carnivores, they eat meat only. You have to have that in your definition. They eat meat only. Let us continue. Now, after we would have had the carnivore, remember, omnivore is not the answer we're looking for here, but we're going to be treating with omnivore. So it's a wonderful word that you have placed there for us to look at. So let us go up now. So now we have I and we have J. What are they? Primary consumer? Secondary consumer? Are they herbivores? I came in late. That's all right, Amoy. Otisha Gray. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Being late, that's fine. So we have already identified herbivore, carnivore. So now we want to know. Oh, you were unsure. That's fine. So now we want to find out I and J. What are they? Are they carnivore, omnivore? What are they really? Somebody is saying here, Cooper is saying that it's a carnivore. Is it a carnivore? All is in agreement with that? Carnivore? Yes, no, maybe so? Yes, no, maybe so? All right, that's a beautiful answer. The answer, of course, is a carnivore. Now, where is my little friend Andrews from St. Vincent? I am going to be assisting you with this fancy word that you gave me. So, yes, we got all this right, and I am not finished with this abstract food web. I always teach my students before I get into any organism to appreciate the positions in the food web. You don't need to know the organism. Just look at where the organism falls in the food web, and it will give you a good idea as to what the organism is doing and what is its niche. That's another fancy word we looked at in our last class. So let us look at what's her name? She's from St. Vincent. Andrews. All right. So Andrews of St. Vincent, she said omnivore, and we did not accept that to be the answer we're looking for. But we're now going to make that be possible. So look at this organism. We're looking at D, and I'm going to be removing what we have at the side of the board here. All right, I'm going to be removing that. But I want you to look at D. This is D. All right, so D is eating what? Can you tell me what D is eating? Can you tell me what D is eating? Anybody? Please, could you tell me what D is eating? What's on the menu for D? Type in the chat. Oh. I always love when students type. Okay. So we're asking, what's on the menu? What's a diet for D? Cooper is saying B is on the diet. Lawrence is saying G is on the diet. And Andrews is saying that the diet is B. All right. So now we have to do some correction, and we have to go back to where we started in the class. So we started with X and Y. And in X and Y, we said that wherever the arrow is pointing, that organism is the predator. That's the organism obtaining the nutrient. So here, Y is doing the eating and not X. All right, so Y is doing the eating. So in this case, it is actually B that's on the diet for D. So B is on the diet for D. So B will be eating, so D will be eating B. All right? Now, let us go. No. We're going to treat with this. No, G is actually eating D. And we're going to do all of that maths this evening. But I want to treat with my good friend from St. Vincent's answer. Now, from St. Vincent, she said omnivore. In order to make an organism in this food web an omnivore, would have to have a okay, here we go. All right, good. Look at what does that mean now. So here, this organism would have been an omnivore. And let us look at what makes that organism an omnivore. What makes it an omnivore is that no longer is it feeding on plants only. All right? Tell me what it is feeding on now in the chat. Type it in the chat there for me. What is it that D is feeding on now? Type it in the chat there for me. Come on, guys. Don't fall asleep on me. You've been doing well. So we want to find out what's on the menu. No, you can't go around with me. You can't do that to me. Don't tell me another animal. That's too vague. I want to know if D is eating B or G or E or A or F. So tell me the name of the organism. Your organisms here, they are all letters of the alphabet. So don't trick me with that. No. No, tell me all that they're eating. All right, so Lenny Cooper is saying that D is eating E and B. Anybody else? Natisha is saying that D is eating E. Is it E only? E only? Do we have any other answer? Remember, let us go back down here. Let us get back to the bottom of the board here, where we said that the head of the arrow, the pointed part of the arrow, that end-tip part of the arrow, it tells who is doing the eating. It tells who is doing the eating. All right? So I could probably ask them for something, and I could eat it and point the arrow at me. Once the arrow is pointed at Mr. Wilson is doing the eating. So here we go. Our answer is going to be D is eating B because the arrow is pointed at D. So D is doing the eating. D is also eating E. Can you see that? So D has on its menu B and E. D has on its menu B and E. But let us just backtrack one bit. And we want to stay with our friend from St. Vincent this evening. Atisha, we still love you. We'll still love all our friends from Guyana. We still love our Jamaicans as well. But we have new friends from St. Vincent, and we're getting them into the thing right here. All right, so let us go. Now, what type of organism is B? Is it a plant or an animal? Type it in the chat there for me. Is B a plant or animal? Amoy is saying that it's a plant. Anything else? Any other answer? John Tay is saying that it's a plant. Any other answer? Come on, if you're sure, or if you're not sure, type it there. You won't lose any marks if you get it wrong. So type it there for me. Come on, guys, don't let me down. A plant. Cooper is saying that's a plant. Any other answer? Do we have any other answer? B. We want to know what is B. Organism B. Is it a plant or animal? So E is an animal. So E is an animal and B is a plant. So if E is an animal, and B is a plant, then it would make D herbivore, carnivore, or omnivore. All right, let us go again. Somebody, the internet is not so well in a lot of zones, so we tend to teach a little slow and repeat a lot so that everybody can be on board. So let us go again. So I'm going to be writing on the board so that the conversation can be somewhat completed. So we're saying that B is a plant based on its position because at the base of a pyramid. We're also saying that E is an animal. Is an animal. So we know now that D is eating both animal and plant. D is eating both animal and plant, which makes D omnivore, carnivore, or herbivore. Which? John Tay is saying omnivore. John Tay insists that's an omnivore. Otisha, what is it? Amoy Lawrence is saying herbivore. Oh my, we're having some little thing here. Andrew's my friend from St. Vincent. She's saying omnivore. Natisha from Jamaica is saying omnivore. So the Jamaicans are saying omnivore. A Jamaican from Spanish Town, she's saying herbivore. My St. Vincent friend is saying omnivore. Amoy Lawrence from Spanish Town, she's somewhat changing her answer. She thinks she made a mistake. So where do we go? Should I wait on that answer from Amoy? Okay, Amoy Lawrence is now saying, Lenny Cooper is saying that it's an omnivore. An omnivore, A-E-I-O-U, an omnivore. Yes, yes. D is going to be an omnivore because it's eating both plant and animal. This is very, very important because you must have an appreciation for what these arrows mean, and you would have learned long ago about carnivore, herbivore, and omnivore. So if you were supposed to identify this feeding type in the food web, you must be able to do so. Now, what I want you to do now in the chat, I want you to write from this food web, I want you to identify a predator and prey relationship. You are going to name the organism, like probably you want to say A and that or B and that, but you must say predator and put the predator name. The predator name is a letter. All right, so put predator and put the name, and you know that the name of these animals are the letters of the alphabet. So we want to identify a predator-prey relationship here on our food web. I do hope that we have students here from human and social biology and straight biology, and we could have some students from integrated science and some students from grade 8, 7, and 9. All right. So I'm looking now to the chat because I want to identify a predator-prey relationship on our food web. All right, please identify a predator-prey relationship on the food web. So you are going to write predator and the name of the animal and prey and the name of the animal. And for this particular food web, the name of your animals are actually the name of the organisms are actually letters of the alphabet. So here we get going. Lenny Cooper is saying predator is, where's G? All right, predator is G and prey is F. All right, so that's one person saying that G here is a predator and F is a prey. And Amoy Lawrence is saying G is a predator and D is a prey. Come on, everybody should be able to identify one. We don't want to leave today and not being able to identify them. Come on, only 2 persons answered. Andrews, Amanda Andrews, Natisha Francis, Otisha Gray. Where's Tanisha? Why is Tanisha not on? I'm getting to know all my students' names, you know. John Tay, are you not winning on this? We want predator-prey relationship. Come on. Identify your predator-prey in the food web here. We are going to go a little deeper into the food web. Predator-prey. All right. J is a predator and G is a prey. All right. J is a predator and G is a prey. All right, all those answers so far, they are correct. Let us continue. Anything else? Anybody else want to weigh in on this before we move to the next level? Anybody else would love to weigh in on this before we get to the next level? Anybody else? Yes, no, I'm waiting. Anything else? All right, so we have Nitisha. Is A predator? Is a predator? Is A predator and E a prey? Or is H predator and E prey? All right, good. All right, so always remember, yes, that's correct. So always remember H predator, E prey. Yes? John Tay, J predator, I prey. Beautiful. So everybody is getting it correct, and I'm loving that. All right, this is what we call a learning community. So we're learning from each other. Always remember that the predator is usually doing the eating. The predator is the one doing the eating. All right, I just want to talk a little bit about predator-prey relationship. All right, usually the organism that is at the top of your food web, we usually refer to this organism as the apex predator. And the apex predator are usually things like lion, crocodile, alligator, hawk. A snake could be an apex predator. An apex predator could also fall lower down in your food web. But usually these organisms are usually vicious carnivore, and they usually enjoy that position as apex predator. There is something else for us to know about the predator-prey relationship, is that we have co-evolution. Both organisms, they are evolving together. So what is happening is that the predator is evolving with some mechanism so that the predator can, of course, get food. And while the predator is evolving with these type of behavior so that they can stay alive and have food, the prey too, they are also evolving. Now, I want you to tell me in the chat some way in which a predator, some adaptation that the predator would have had to ensure that it stays viable, it is able to find food. Let me give you some example. If we were supposed to look at the cheetah and the gazelle, now the gazelle, or the gazelle it is called, it has to develop speed. So it has to run very, very fast and be able to take quick corners in order to escape the predator. Now, another thing that we could think of is camouflage, right? Some organisms, they camouflage themselves, like the chameleon, the octopus, they will camouflage themselves. I'm going to give you some of them, camouflage. And then we have what is called cryptic coloration. You could look at these. I think I want you to write them down and look at them. I'm going to give you a list of them. So we spoke about speed. We spoke about being able to move and turn quickly. Poison and venom, yes. Some organisms we say had cryptic coloration. Some organisms are also able to have colors that mimic the deadly predator. All right, yes, speed, yes, speed, yes, speed, so they can escape the predator. And while the predator is having all these stuff, the same is also true for the prey. All right, so if you were supposed to go outside and do a sample with your sweet net in some brown grass, you will find brown grasshoppers. But if you were supposed to do the sample in green grass, you'd find green grasshopper. All right, I'm going to be giving you a whole list of this thing in our next class about how organisms evolve in order to stay alive. All right, and when I say to stay alive, I'm talking about both predators and I'm talking about prey. I'm going to be looking at that. But let us hop right back into our food web. So we know that this organism depends on this organism for food. Let us do some maths now. And this is where a lot of persons usually fall short. Now, for some unknown reason, this organism ceased to exist in the habitat because of disease, because sharp senses. Yes, we're going to leave that for another class. Don't worry yourself. Let's just go with this very quickly. So A is no longer in that habitat. What is likely to happen to E? How will it affect E? What will happen to E? Now that there is no A, what is going to happen to E? Type it in, all the possibility. Your exam paper will say suggest. Suggest what might happen to E. Suggest what might happen to E. E would die out. E will eventually die. Continue typing for me. I'm loving your answers. Continue typing. Please, continue typing. I see where you got that answer from. These are just some. I mean, I could give you a whole long list. All right, so E would go extinct. I love these answers. Okay. You know that I'm not going to leave. Okay, Andrews have answered. I don't understand. Where's Otisha? Where's Tanisha? Where's everybody else? Don't go quiet on me now, you know. He would go extinct. He would catch disease. Find a new habitat. Oh my, wonderful. We're having all different types of answers. But he still have C. A whole lot of things happening here. Persons are looking and persons are trying, but what I don't want, I want to ensure that when we leave here today and when we get to that exam, we won't have to sit and figure it out then because we figured it out on Mr. Wilson's life. So we want to know what will happen to E now that A has ceased to exist. I want everybody to weigh in on it. Come on, guys. And if you're out there just watching this live and you have not subscribed, I'm sure you'd want to weigh in on this conversation. So just subscribe and come on over. Let's chat. All right. Lose energy. All right. I'm not going to prod you anymore and to a point that you start to get frustrated. So let us look at all the possibilities with E. Are we ready to go? Say yes for me. All right. Good. All right. So E had a diet of C, A, and D. It is quite likely that E, based on what this food web is saying, is consuming more plants than it is consuming animals, because it's feeding from this plant over here, or this seta plant, and it is feeding from this seta plant over here. Now, one seta plant went extinct for whatever reason we don't know. Probably E loved this plant more than this plant, and of such overgrazing, Shakila, and as such overgrazing took place, and of course this plant, like the fish in the Jamaican water, they overfish, so we're having problem now with the fish stock. So probably this organism had too much of this organism, and what happened is that over time, it did not have enough time to grow, to reproduce, as is the forest in some Caribbean island. We're just cutting down the trees, deforestation, and we're not able to, they're not able to grow back as they should. So this plant could have been affected by deforestation. Oh yes, that could be a possible reason. Another thing that could have affected this plant is that probably them kill out all of them plant if they build house and road and all sorts of industrial development. Yes, that is on the syllabus as well. But what we want to know, what will happen to E? So now that E has nothing here to eat, and A was that was like KFC. A was like KFC to E. Now E will have to go for a substitute product. Remember when we say, when we are reuse and all of those stuff, recycle and so on, and we talk about substitute product in order to ensure that we protect the environment. So now E might consume more of C. That's a possibility. E will either consume more of C and more of D. That is probably the first possibility. E will be consuming more of these. D and C. Get that into your head. Good. And the other possibility is E might migrate to some other habitat to find food. Remember when we spoke about locomotion some time ago, we said that locomotion is very important to organisms in order for them to find food. So this organism is not restricted or confined to the habitat that it is in. So this organism might very well move. So it is Friday evening and you should be having Mr. Wilson live. But guess what? You went to a KFC to get some chicken to ensure that you have food while Mr. Wilson is having his long class. And when you went to that KFC, I didn't get paid to advertise KFC. When you went to that chicken outlet, there is no chicken. You know what you do? You go on over to the other. That's the same thing that that organism is doing. Or your mother, your parents, whomever sent you to shop, and in Jamaica, I mean, we like rice and we like flour. We eat more rice than Otisha grain Guyana. So mom sent you to the shop to get probably about a kg of rice. And what happened is that that shop was closed. Of course, it is Sunday, so in Jamaica, we eat rice and peas and chicken. What do? Come back and say, Mom, there is no rice. We're going to die for hunger today? No. What you do, you are going to seek substitute product or try to get it at another shop. So you are going to up on over to the other shop down the road and you're going to try to get the rice. Hopping on somewhere else to get the food. Just like you would have gone to another shop to get the rice. And if there is no rice, you probably take a taxi and go down into the town to get some rice. Or you might say, you know, that today we might just have to just get some flour. In Jamaica, if it is not rice, it's going to be flour. All right? Wheat, flour. So that is what is likely to happen to E. E will either resort to feeding on something else in the habitat, or E will migrate to find food. Are you with me? Are you with me? Somebody say yes for me. I don't like to talk to myself, you know. I don't want to fall asleep on me. So are we understanding that? Do we have any question there? John T understands. Cooper understands. So a lot of persons are understanding. Very good. Good. Much better than we understood before. So, of course, it is just like you. You can't get food. But I'm going to be asking you something now a little tricky. There are some organisms that have special diets. And I like to talk about the panda bear that would be eating bamboo. Now, if there is no bamboo, the panda bear will just have to try to find somewhere else to find the bamboo. Or else, you know what will happen. Sad to say, but it's true. So let us look at what will happen to reproduction. So with reproduction, I'm going to just draw quickly a very sigmoid growth curve. So the sigmoid growth curve goes like that. So if this animal, the food is reduced in the habitat, will this organism continue to reproduce at the rate that it was reproducing? Yes or no? Yes or no? If this organism does not have the amount of food in the habitat, will the organism continue to reproduce at the rate it was reproducing? Let me make that one very quick. Otisha Gray, the only organism that is going to reproduce if there is no food is human. If there is no food, for some reason, humans tend to do this thing for all sorts of reasons. They do it for stress, they do it for pleasure, they do it for just about everything. All right? So when there is no food, humans still continue to reproduce in some cases. However, organisms in the wild, if there is no food, they are going to reduce the number of offspring that they produce. All right? So this will definitely affect the production of offspring. So we have looked at predator-prey relationship here. We have looked at what will be the likely outcome, what will happen should an organism go extinct in the habitat, what is likely to happen to the organism that depended on it. The organism will either find an alternate source of food or the organism will migrate. The last resort will be die. So don't just get up and write on your paper, the organism will die. Even if, for example, let us move this away. Sorry, let us look at over here, we're looking at F. Now, F has one food source. If we were supposed to remove C, now F has nothing to eat based on the food web. But will this organism die? Yes or no? Answer very quickly in the chat for me. Will the organism die? All right. Is that a new answer? No, sir. So F now has no C. F was like the panda bear feeding on C, and now there is no C because of deforestation or a new commercial development or some disease would have caused that organism to become extinct. Or of course, there could have been an introduced species, exotic species that could have caused, of course, the disappearance of this native species or this particular species that is endemic. As in Jamaica, we have the Parinavidus oysters in Port Royal, which is now, we have our local oysters, which is now being affected by an introduced species of oysters. And we have in Jamaica, we have our local crayfish stock, which is being affected by the Australian crayfish. In Jamaica, we have our fish stock, the parrotfish, which is being affected by the lionfish. All right, and we have a plant in Jamaica named Caramila. That plant, I mean, it's like in Kingston, like it's like really invasive. An invasive species, an introduced species that takes over somewhere and it has no natural predator. Like the Brazilian cane toad that was introduced in Brazil to deal with the sugarcane beetle, and then after a while it became invasive. It had no natural predator, so it just kept multiplying to a point of being a nuisance. So here we're getting some answer. No, sir, it wouldn't die. It will migrate. All right. F over eat C. Yeah, it could have been that we have of course, it could have actually ate more than it should. Overgrazing, it is called. Yes, that is possible. So the first resort for F, having realized that there is no food, it is going to try to find alternative food, or it is going to migrate. It won't just sit and die. No. All right. So remember, this type of a question in your exam will ask you to suggest. All right. So a lot we have said about the food web. We want to continue. We looked at predator-prey. Remember, the predator is the organism that is doing the eating, and of course, the prey is eaten. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit more. The syllabus asks us to look at, of course, biological control. And this is, of course, a wonderful topic to talk about. When we talk about pest control in agriculture, we talk about IPM, Integrated Pest Management, IPM. And the whole idea of IPM is to protect the environment, because with IPM, the last resort is to use synthetic pesticide that might actually damage other organisms. So with biological control, it is very important to understand these organisms. And I think I taught this, yesterday to some kids in grade 9. And I'm going to give you a biological control, one that you would have seen somewhere close to you. The whole idea, fish farmers, they usually have sheep. You can't say sheep, you say sheep. Sheep, one sheep, two sheep. You can't say put an S to sheep. All right. So fish farmers usually have sheep. They have sheep and they are low grazers. So what they do, they keep the grass very, very low around the fish pond. Now, if you were supposed to use a lawnmower or a machine to cut it, then you understand that the grass would just go on into your feed in your fish pond, and after some time, the nutrient content would be too high and it would cause a fish kill. So you don't want to have that. So to control the weed there, the last class I asked you to look at Bacillus thuringiensis in a BT. Remember I told you that. So they would, all right, let's talk about that. Let's hold the chat for one bit. Just hold the chat for a bit. So the fish farmers would use the sheep as a biological control to control the growth of the grass. Now, I could tell you about another biological control. We could talk about ground cover. So if you are in agriculture and you are planting crops that are growing above soil, like standing like probably a corn or something like that, you'd plant something on the ground to reduce the cost of weeding. You could plant something like pumpkin, which is a good cover crop, or you could plant something like sweet potato, which is another good cover crop. These are crops that we would use as biological control to suppress the growth of weed. How does these two plants prevent the growth of weed? Of course, every plant that germinates, it's going to need some sunlight for photosynthesis. If there's no sunlight for photosynthesis, then it's going to retard the growth, and then eventually very few or no weed will be growing in there because the leaf of these plants will overlap and prevent light from hitting the floor of your farm. Now, another thing that we could think about is the dragonfly. That fly that is a big fly, or they call it needlecase or dragonfly in Jamaica. It flies over the water and it will just go down and come up, go down and come up. And that helps to control mosquito larvae. So that's a biological control. And in some cases, we're breeding those flies, dragonfly, in order to control mosquito. I asked you in our last lesson to look at Bacillus thuringiensis, BT. Bacillus thuringiensis, as BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, is used to control larvae just the same. I think what it does, it is fed or poured in the water where we have the larvae. And I think the larvae are the pupa. I don't remember the exact thing there, but I can tell you the effect. What happens is that this is a live organism, and it tends to reproduce in the gut of the mosquito, whatever state of the mosquito. It reproduces in the gut, and then it causes the gut to explode, killing the organism. All right? So I want you to look at BT, Bacillus thuringiensis. If you are using your textbook for CXC, the recommended text, I'm not too sure. We look at mosquito control. You should be seeing this biological control. Now we could also look at. So we look at the BT. We looked at the dragonfly. We could look at ladybird. That's what we call it, ladybird beetle. This black and red beetle. How many persons know that? Type in the chat for me. You know ladybird beetle. Ladybird beetle. It's a little pretty red and black beetle that you'd find on some crop every now and then. All right, they eat aphid. All right, very good. They eat aphids. And aphids are just some fine sucking organism on your plant. Whenever there is aphid on the plant, they will pass their poo. Their poo is somewhat sweet, and you'll find a whole lot of ants on that plant. Now, the ladybird beetle would be eating the aphid. And if you were supposed to look at, I think it is transport in plant in your textbook, you would have seen an aphid feeding from the sap of the plant, the phloem. So you could know ladybug. Some persons call it ladybug, some persons call it ladybird beetle. So those are some examples of biological control. And what biological control is, it's really introducing a natural predator of a pest. So that predator will eat the pest. So the biological control we spoke about for the Brazilian cane toad was, for the sugarcane beetle in Brazil, was the Brazilian cane toad. And we have to be very careful when we are introducing these species, because what they will do if they have no natural predator, over time, they themselves will become invasive and become a problem. As was the problem with mongoose